Hi, Rush Recap here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror fantasy movie called The Watchers, directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan. Will she inherit her father's penchant for a good twist? Let's find out together. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens in a forest in Ireland where a man named John is running desperately. He soon arrives at a sign that says Point of No Return 108. He keeps running, but quickly notices that he's been going in circles all along. Suddenly, a flock of crows appears, and he realizes it will soon be dark. John becomes terrified and tries to climb a tree for shelter, but he slips and falls. Moments later, an unseen creature arrives and drags him away. In the following scene, we see an American girl named Mina working in a pet store in Galway. Her boss gives her a valuable golden conure parrot and asks her to deliver it to a zoo in Belfast. Mina agrees, as she is also tired of sitting in the store all day. The next day, she departs for Belfast with the parrot. On the way, she receives a voice message from her twin sister Lucy, who reminds her of their mother's death anniversary. She claims it has been 15 years and asks Mina to move on from the incident and not blame herself. Tough to do when she's calling with reminders. She also invites her to visit the family, but Mina appears uninterested. Shortly after, Mina enters a forest area with numerous signs of missing people and animals. Her radio then turns off on its own and the car comes to a sudden stop. She attempts to restart the vehicle, but it doesn't work. So she gets out and starts looking around. Mina soon stumbles upon a sign that says, Point of No Return 12. This makes her assume that someone lives nearby, so she decides to go a bit further. However, just moments later, when Mina turns around, she notices that her car has vanished. She becomes concerned as she realizes nightfall's approaching. Shortly after, she hears mysterious sounds coming from nearby, and the ground also begins to shake. Mina then notices someone running and decides to follow them. She eventually discovers a cabin where an old woman informs her that she must enter if she wants to live. Hearing the animals screeching, Mina decides to trust the woman and rushes inside. Following this, the old woman introduces herself as Madeline and presents her with two companions, Kyra and Daniel. She explains that the cabin they are in is called the Coop and that they have all been here for a while. The group then holds hands and looks into what appears to be a two-sided mirror. Madeline reveals that the beings on the other side are known as the Watchers. They are forest creatures who visit the cabin every night to observe the occupants. Since Mina is new, they position her in front of them to welcome her. The Watchers seemingly like her and they give her a warm applause. The next morning, a confused Mina believes these people are insane and decides to leave. She takes the parrot along with her and sets off to find her car. However, she quickly becomes disoriented and unsure of her path. Mina arrives near a cliff where she is shocked to see the massive forest around her. This makes her realize that it is impossible to get out of here on foot. Shortly after, Madeline catches up with her and asks her to return. She explains that they have all tried to flee, but the fog causes visual hallucinations, making escape nearly impossible. She also reveals that there are several points of no return signs in the forest that can guide them back to the coop before sunset. However, crossing the line means they will not be able to turn back. When Mina asks who put up these signs, Madeline says they call him the professor. With no other choice, Mina returns to the coop and decides to live with them. The next day, the group goes out to hunt for food, and during this time, she bonds with Kyra. The latter confides that her husband John was with them until last week when he supposedly went out for help. He is actually the same guy we saw at the start of the movie. Following this, Kyra takes Mina to a massive burrow where the Watchers live. She explains that there are many of these throughout the forest, and the Watchers are unable to come out during the day. When Mina asks how long she has been here, she responds that she and John arrived 5 months ago. Later, as they gather around the fireplace, Madeline informs Mina about the rules of survival here. These include never turning your back on the mirror, never opening the door in the dark, occasionally at the crack of midnight, showing your butt crack to the mirror, staying away from the burrows, and always remaining in the light. The next day, Mina goes on hunting duties with Daniel. He admits that he has been here for 8 months and has never seen a watcher. Mina finds this strange and begins to question Madeline's honesty with them. She asks him to help her investigate the burrows, and after some hesitation, he finally agrees. With Daniel's help, Mina uses a rope to descend into one of the burrows. She then uses her lighter to illuminate the area and discovers several old objects, including a newspaper, a broken camcorder, and some stuffed animals. Moments later, a strange hand approaches and attempts to hurt her, but before it can do so, Daniel throws the rope, allowing Mina to climb up with the items. In the next scene, Mina displays the items she has gathered and persuades the group to devise an escape plan. Madeline suspects Mina of breaking the rules, but she claims that she found the items in the forest. After a while, Daniel fixes the camcorder and connects it to the TV. They then decide to place it outside by the door to keep an eye on the watchers. Later, during dinner, a man approaches the door coughing and knocking. They see his legs on the television screen, and the man claims to be John. Madeline is shocked and says it's not possible because no humans are spared after it gets dark. She questions Mina, asking if she broke the rules, and the latter finally admits that she went inside one of the burrows. Meanwhile, Kiara wants to open the door for her husband, but Madeline says it is a watcher in disguise. Kiara then tests him by asking about the book she's currently reading, but the man cannot answer. This finally makes her realize that the man is not her husband. But before she can proceed with her next move, she is attacked by a watcher who also destroys the camcorder. The next morning, the group gathers the things Mina brought and throws them into the burrow. Madeline is furious with her and orders her to stop risking others' lives for her experiments. Mina also understands the gravity of the situation, so she promises to abide by the rules from now on. The scene then cuts to a flashback of Mina's childhood on the day she lost her mother. Mom was driving the car while Mina and Lucy were playing in the back seat. Everything was going well until Mina got her hands stuck in the window and she started screaming. Mom looked back to check what was going on, but this caused her to get distracted. The resulting collision immediately killed her, while the 2 daughters managed to survive with just minor injuries. Mina has been living with guilt since then and has struggled to move on. She shouldn't blame herself. Everyone who's ever driven a car in a movie has crashed it. In the present, we see that many months have passed in the forest, and winter has now come. Things have become increasingly tense for the group because of food scarcity. As a result, Daniel and Madeline frequently argue, and Kiara has become depressed while missing her husband. One afternoon, Daniel and Madeline have another heated argument. He becomes so enraged that he ties her up to a tree. When Mina tries to free her, Daniel grabs Kiara and locks the coupe door, leaving the other 2 outside. The women plead with Daniel to open the door, but he continues to refuse. As darkness falls, Madeline guides Mina to a makeshift shelter of branches where they can hide. They then notice the watchers emerging for the first time. The creatures are tall, lanky, spider-like monsters that let out horrible screeches. They stand by the window and are puzzled by the 2 women's absence. Daniel informs them that the women are still outside and urges the creatures to hunt them down. The watchers seemingly agree and begin roaming around the forest in search of them. After they leave, Madeline and Mina bang on the door again, pleading with Daniel to open it. When he refuses, Mina begins to confide in him about how she caused her mother's death. She says that she is a horrible person, but Daniel doesn't have to be like her. Moved by her words, he finally changes his mind and opens the door. Once inside, Madeline chastises Daniel for his actions before finally revealing the truth about the Watchers. She explains that they were once called fairies as they possessed wings and magical abilities, but now they have simply become shapeshifters who have been observing and attempting to mimic humans. Madeline also describes an incident when she saw a Watcher who looked exactly like her, but in a distorted form. While they are discussing this, the Watchers return to the coop and start banging on the door. This is the first time they are doing so, as the rules have been broken. The group even hears their own voices, revealing that the Watchers are quick learners. At this intense moment, Daniel discovers a hatch on the floor which he quickly opens. Despite not knowing what's inside, they decide to enter the hatch to protect themselves from the Watchers. Shortly after, the hatch leads them to an underground tunnel. They cautiously move through the narrow passage, using their flashlights to navigate. The atmosphere is tense, and every small sound echoes ominously. As they progress deeper into the tunnel, they notice strange markings on the walls, possibly left by previous victims or by the Watchers themselves. Suddenly, they come across a larger underground chamber filled with remnants of old belongings, suggesting that many others have sought refuge here before. The chamber also contains a map drawn crudely on the wall, indicating different exits and points of interest within the forest. Realizing this could be their chance to escape, the group carefully studies the map. They deduce that one of the exits is relatively close to their current location, but it requires navigating through a maze of interconnected tunnels. Determined to escape, they proceed through the tunnels, following the map as closely as possible. Along the way, they encounter various obstacles and traps likely set up by the Watchers to prevent anyone from escaping. The group works together to overcome these challenges, growing closer in the process. As they near the exit, they hear the Watchers' screeches echoing through the tunnels, indicating that the creatures have discovered their whereabouts. The group hastens their pace, desperately trying to stay ahead of the Watchers. Just as they see the faint light of the exit, one of the tunnels collapses, separating Mina and Madeline from Daniel and Kiara. Mina and Madeline urge Daniel and Kiara to continue towards the exit while they find another way around. Reluctantly, Daniel and Kiara agree and rush towards the exit. Mina and Madeline backtrack through the tunnels, hoping to find another path that leads them out. They encounter more obstacles and even a few Watchers, but manage to outsmart them using their wits and quick thinking. Finally, after what feels like hours, Mina and Madeline find another exit. They emerge from the underground and into the forest, breathing in the fresh air. They follow the path indicated by the map and eventually reunite with Daniel and Kiara at the forest's edge. As the first light of dawn breaks, the group steps out of the forest, leaving the terror of the Watchers behind. Exhausted but relieved, they make their way to the nearest town to seek help. Mina decides to keep the parrot, feeling a sense of responsibility towards it and a reminder of her journey. They all vow never to speak of the horrors they witnessed, understanding that some mysteries are better left unsolved. In the closing scene, Mina receives another call from her twin sister Lucy. This time, Mina answers, ready to reconnect and move forward with her life. The camera pans out, showing the vast, eerie forest, leaving viewers with the unsettling feeling that the Watchers are still out there, observing their next prey. And that's the end of the movie, The Watchers. Did Ishana Night Shyamalan deliver a twist worthy of her father's legacy? Leave your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe and keep an eye out for anything that watches you in the dark.